for anyone that's watching this that has no idea who you are, tell us who you are, James, and what you're doing right now.
So I am James Vogle. I am a entrepreneur, online business mentor. I have been mentoring for Limitless for 2.5, 3 years now. I have got multiple property rentals as well, and I've also just acquired 1% equity in Fit FCK, which is
Yeah, I
pretty
saw
cool.
that. That was
So
amazing.
yeah, mate, really, really good move. Super excited.
That's so cool. You're getting into the tech space.
Indeed. So we're looking to really push that into like multi-level consumer, which is like the principles that he's got down. Obviously with the backing of Tim Stokely as well. It's going to get very, very exciting.
Yeah, that's huge that he's on board.
Massive. I'm actually going out for dinner with him in the first week of Feb.
Oh, wicked. That'd
Which would
be
be
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, very
Pretty
cool.
cool.
It'd be good to talk. Have you talked to him before or no?
On Instagram, but not in person yet. So apparently he is like the nicest guy you will ever meet. I think lots of people will look at the industry that obviously he's in and they'll go, they expect him to be a certain type. He is apparently the opposite.
Is it?
Like to the point where you'd think, are you really the director and like the founder of that? Because you don't seem it.
But he just found a little spot that no one was using and just made his own market.
Literally. And now it's changed the world, really.
Yeah, incredible. Like that'd be so cool to sit down to dinner with him and just hear about like how he did what he did. Like if he's going to talk about that, or just to hear him talk about anything would be good.
He started it in his kitchen.
Oh, did it?
Literally a laptop in his kitchen. And like 3 years later, it was 6 billion valuation.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's crazy.
I think that's the difference between copying what other people have done and then building like your own space to just do something.
That's what I say to coaches all the time. Like, end of the day, it's like with you, for example, like, Kahunas, people would say it went into a really, busy space. There was lots of different softwares out there. Yes, there might be other things out there, but ultimately you just do things differently. Same with coaching.
Yeah.
So how many coaches are there that have, online physique coach in their bio? But every single person, all you've got to do is just add something different, do different marketing, and you'll stand out.
Yeah, for sure. I think more so in this day and age as well. But we'll come on to that in a sec. Like, first of all, I want to find out, because you asked me last time that we spoke, like, how did I get into doing what I'm doing? How did you get into, like, let's go way back, kind of starting out in fitness, like, and then how everything gets evolved?
Yeah, so starting out in fitness, obviously I had a couple of kind of business experiences before that, but fitness-wise, I literally started a fitness kind of profile as you do, when you upload your first ever 50 kilo bench press or whatever when you're 14. I did that, started to get some traction, got sponsored by a company in Essex called The Muscle Movement, clothing wise, so became kind of a sponsored ambassador. Really liked it. Then I essentially was in school, and guys were like, "Oh, you are growing quite quick, and I want to get into the gym. You got big arms. I want big arms. Can you help me?" Started to do that. Loved it. I then got a job in the local leisure centre. Kind of begged my way in, and you know what? Actually, I had to start off as a flume attendant to get in. Right. So I literally sacrificed like 4 days a week to stand at the bottom of a water slide saying, "You can go now." But the way in was I built my trust with my duty manager and general manager, and I actually got enrolled for free into a level 2 and level 3, which back then was about £6,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I got enrolled straight away. And within 8 weeks, I was qualified. And actually, within 6 weeks, they needed me in the gym. So within 6 weeks, I was actually already working in the gym.
That worked out well.
From that, worked with multiple different kind of people, especially being in a leisure centre. Then I kind of got into bodybuilding. Then I competed. Moved into a more of a bodybuilding style gym. Did uni at the same time. Crazy busy. Launched online coaching. And the rest is history, really.
How did you have the time to do uni and online coaching at the same time?
My lecturers hate me for this, but I was always that person. It's like, for example, I was speaking to someone the other day at sixth form, and they said, you used to always turn up, just focus, get your work done, and then like leave like 2 hours early from sixth
Yeah.
form. Because I'd go into uni, I would, for example, just absorb everything, go away, action it, done.
Yeah.
And then whereas people would go out, do X, Y, Z, bum on the sofa, watch TV. I was just like, I've always seen education as like, I'm getting in, I'm getting out.
Sure.
Yes, I potentially, people say, would you have gone to uni now? I still would have, because not because of the educational element, because I believe that there's actually better education out there, but from an experience perspective, and also that like 3-year period in my life, I think it just allowed me to test the water with different things, because it
Yeah.
was when my online coaching went massive. But
Okay.
if I would have gone straight into a job or whatever, it wouldn't have done that. But ultimately, as well, like I did just have to, I wasn't a social person. I just had to go. I was always like at lectures, do you want to come to here? No, I'm going to the gym. Oh, do you want to come after that? No, I'm going to do my, essay in the library
Yeah.
and repeat.
Do you think if you didn't go to uni and you spent all of your time just doing online coaching, that things would have been different?
No, because I think everything that I've actually experienced, well, everything I experienced over like 3 years has taught me invaluable things that like you couldn't buy or learn from anyone. You have to experience it yourself.
Sure. And so you built up your online coaching to a
Yeah.
point where, like, what happened? Did you just get to, you just got really busy with it, or you brought people on, or what stage did you get to with your online coaching?
Yeah. So I was actually doing a bit of a hybrid to start, because in my area, I was relatively well known. Like everyone was like, if you want to get in shape, you have to go to James.
Right.
Now that I spread quite thin. So first of all, I employed one of my best friends to do all the check-ins and basically take my lower tier clients on.
A lot of people, a lot of people employ their friends. Like,
Yeah,
how did that work? Was it a good relationship? Did it work well?
mate, he's worked for me for the last 4.5 years now.
Has it?
Just have to set boundaries. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I've had numerous times where it has not worked out with friends. Like, I
Right.
have been stung hard. Okay, but yeah, I think again, if I wouldn't have had that experience, I wouldn't have been able to have worked with my friend right now for 4.5 years, because
Sure.
I knew what to do. I knew how to set the boundaries. He knows, like, when he, like, for example, I don't muck around when it comes to business.
Yeah.
It's like we almost have two relationships. We have like a friend relationship, we have a work relationship, and we can really quickly switch between the two. For
That's awesome
example,
that you can do
we
that.
will like get everything done in the day, and we'll train at night as friends.
Nice.
It's
That's a
cool.
really good relationship.
That's really cool.
And so, with him coming on board, was there anything as you were growing your business that you just had no idea on, or were you learning as you go, or things that you found difficult?
My biggest thing, and I think it's what a lot of coaches run into now, is everything I was doing was working very well, and I
Right.
knew that if I basically could double me, I would like probably double my business. And then
Yeah.
that was when I was like, actually, I need to be focusing on certain things, and then I need to get someone else who I could probably replicate to be me in a
Yeah.
certain way. And I've actually got a funny analogy that I'm going to talk about after this about this.
Yeah.
And he can then basically pick up on what I know I need to do, but ultimately I probably don't need to do,
Sure.
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
I
then I
get it.
pulled myself out, focused on the good stuff. He then did the stuff that again still is important, but you can delegate out. And then that's
Yeah.
when it went whew, bang.
Amazing. What things did you find worked really well?
So to me, it is leveling up everything. So most coaches are kind of like, right, you get a check-in, you get a diet plan, you get a training plan. I was like, bearing in mind this was like 3.5, 4 years ago as well. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
back in the day, no one was doing group community calls. No
Right.
one was doing like weekly webinars for their clients. No, I was trying to think, how can I just constantly deliver? I was trying to think, right, like when you sign up to a gym sometimes and you pay a membership and you get a load of benefits.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to do.
It's interesting that, like, from a lot of people that I've spoken to, and this is something I didn't realize everyone consistently is doing that's been successful, is that they want to over deliver on their promise.
Yeah.
And that
Because
then,
yeah, I kind of knew that if I deliver a lot of different things. So, for example, I had mental health specialists. I had this come on. When I was, I remember in lockdown, we actually brought on like a yoga specialist. Like, we did everything. And then because all of a sudden, like when someone potentially doesn't, or if finances get tough and they go, like, I need to cut costs. I'm like, wow, actually, I don't need to because I get everything included. For
Yeah,
example, if a lady's part of the coaching program and she's like, actually, you know what, I want to do yoga now. I can't afford both. Oh, I'm going to try yoga and cut off James. Doesn't happen because like, oh wow,
yeah,
I get everything with James. Now I'm
yeah.
not
That's
just
incredible.
talking. Don't just like literally go, yeah, brilliant. I'm just going to hire loads of different people. You've got to make sure it's going to be beneficial for your clients.
Sure.
But if you do it, you then become invaluable. And it's
Yeah,
like, why would I go to anyone else when I get everything covered in that?
and presumably that then increased your retention as well with people.
Retention, client results,
Yeah,
referral. Because again, if someone goes out with their friends and they go, oh, I just signed up for an online coach. Oh, how does it work? Oh, I get a diet plan, a training plan, and he
yeah,
checks on me on WhatsApp once a week. Oh, I get like weekly
yeah,
yoga. I get a week, it's like, I need to go to your coach.
yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. And so, at what point in your business did you get to where you thought, did you then meet Elliot, or did you get a mentor yourself, or how did that transition take place for
Yeah. So I met Elliot, and
you?
Elliot kind of I was still doing some hybrid PT because ultimately, like people just wanted, what it's like when people want you, they will
Okay.
do anything to keep you and see you on a weekly basis. So I
Yeah,
kind of like pivoted my pricing, moved around a few things, but then I always followed Elliot for like years. We always used to have chats, about e-commerce, things like that. And then I was actually like the first person that he actually ever mentored. Like he
yeah.
literally
Oh wow.
came on, and then obviously after a few weeks, he kind of realised like you're also teaching me a few things, sort of thing. Like because the thing
Yeah,
is, I'd done like I'd got my business to a really good place, like
sure.
system wise, delivery wise, and then I just needed that extra. I think I needed the second opinion. It's like the
Yeah,
other day, the other week, I was having this like we're really pushing in our agency, and I knew we needed to do something, but I just needed someone to confirm it.
sure.
There's a guy that I'm really grateful for this, but a guy called Paul Markland, sold his printing company for like 450 million about 3 years ago. Literally, I WhatsApped him. I was like, having a bit of a wobble, like need your opinion. He rung me there and then from
Wow.
Marbella on his balcony. And I said to him, he's like, what are you doing? You need to do that. Stop worrying about that. Just do that. And I was just like, that's what I needed. Like, just to know that I was on the right lines. You know, when you just need that little bit of like reassurance.
Yeah, yeah,
And then it's the same with him. I had a rough idea. I had things that I needed to change. I was spending too much on time on things that actually maybe weren't really pushing me as forward as I could have done something else.
sure.
And it blew again from there. And then ultimately I was just like, what do I really want? And I'd always loved business. And that's when we just combined our minds because ultimately I'd got to a good stage as well. And it kind of fit nicely.
Yeah, that's incredible. And it's interesting that it's not like seeking validation, or I don't even think it's seeking an opinion. I think what happens is because whatever you're doing, you're so close to it.
Yeah.
So you can quite easily talk yourself into a rabbit hole. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just need someone to give you that other perspective and say, like, yeah, that makes sense. Just do it. And then often if you get advice, it's stuff you know anyway. And you're just like, yeah, I should have just done it anyway.
That is literally it. But I just like that, end of the day, like me and Elliot always say this as well, like, where we're looking to take, a company from, for example, 7 to 8 figures, like
Yeah,
you need people that have done 8 figures to
yeah,
keep this in check because ultimately you are going to run into problems and obstacles and things that for example, I've actually found that a lot of people think that actually 7 figures sounds like crazy complex, but actually sometimes when you speak to like people that are doing 8, 9 figures, they're like, you literally
yeah,
just do these three things at a big scale, like times 10, and you you
yeah,
do it. And I'm like, wow, there's people at 2K a month online coaching and they're trying to overcomplicate everything.
yeah, yeah.
And like, actually, if you just like get really good at 3 or 4 things and you just keep hiring in them roles, you just grow.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
like, oh,
Do you think now though, because you've done that, that you think it's easy? because I when I was starting out, the idea of 100 grand when I was starting out seemed like wow, how
You
do I get
know.
100
Yeah.
grand? Yeah, like whoa. But then getting there, it was the same thing. Then I'm like, well, getting a million is gonna be difficult. Then you get there and you're like, oh no, actually, like that wasn't too bad.
Literally. That is
But
like, that's literally how I feel. It's like, oh,
I can see that going from like a million to 10 million or 20 million or 50
yeah,
million is
yeah.
a whole different like process.
And you know what? It's because you do different things. Like it's not.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it is. It's not really the day to day and like task. It's more of like the roles. You know, like for
Mm,
example, like obviously where you're hiring staff, like the key to growth is literally hiring people to do X, Y, Z. For example, if you're a
yeah.
coach, you're around like the 8 to 10K mark and you're flat out. Okay. Loads of coaches think, oh, let me put 2K into S&P 5 or, S&P 500 or, an investment property company or whatever. It's like, no, put that 2K into hiring someone to do X amount of tasks for you
Yeah.
and you'll probably earn 15, 20K.
Yeah.
And then when you get to that point, you then replicate as well.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree more. Like the team is so important to help you scale. And I
Yeah.
always look for people that can do things that I either don't want to do or my time isn't worth not my time isn't worth spending those
Yeah.
things, but my time is more valuable in other areas of the business and
100%.
the
Yeah.
business. So either to fill those gaps or to find people that do things better than I do them.
Yeah.
And then trust that person to take responsibility for doing that thing really well. And if
Yeah.
you could build a team of people like that, filling out the gaps where you shouldn't be wasting your time, and then filling out the gaps where people do things better than you, the difficulty I find is finding the people.
Literally. Literally that. That is the biggest obstacle you'll ever find from trying to grow your business is
Yeah,
finding them people.
we've got some good ones, but it's taken a very long time. It's the
So
same for you.
this is where it comes to that analogy. I was speaking to someone yesterday about because they're about to hire another coach.
Okay.
And I said, you either hire a unicorn right now or you hire a horse.
Yeah.
Unicorn being multi-level, then people are like, oh, can you quickly do that? Yeah, I can do that. They have a good
Yeah.
understanding. Or a horse is like where you hire them for one thing, they might be 80% there, but you train
Yeah.
them up to become a stallion. You whack a horn on their head, they become a unicorn, right? But they aren't the unicorn stage. So like you either hire, for example, graphics and you just get a graphic designer or whatever, or you
Yeah.
hire someone that can do your captions, your social, like everything, and that's the difference. And
Yeah.
we found that getting a couple of unicorns first has been pivotal for growing our business
Yeah.
because unicorns are the ones where you can rely on. Because like
Sure.
what you'll probably find is if you hire too many, just like this is what I do,
Mm.
you end up having to really work with that person, whereas you could work with one person who could then manage the other person.
Yeah.
And that's the drag you kind of get when you grow.
I think that's the really hard part of it. And I think it's difficult if you're starting out in business and you're trying to scale very quickly.
Yeah.
So if you're a coach and you're doing six figures and you're like, right now I want to start increasing and you bring people on at that level, if you're looking to pay as little as possible, then the person you bring on, you'll likely spend more time now managing and looking after that person, wasting more of your time, which is money, than you would have saved if you just paid more money for the right person in the beginning.
We spoke about this with Lauren Tickner actually, because we were trying to get a lot of our web work outsourced, and
Right.
she was just like, "We've tried for like 12 months, it just doesn't work." She said, "Like we've gone through about 40 different, like web developers, and
Yeah.
so we just decided to bring it, back here because I was just like, it's just not worth it." She said, "We've spent way more money, way more time, way more stress." Trying to find someone at like maybe half the price of what we could,
Yeah.
when actually it's not worked.
No, has been a big lesson for me. It took me so everyone I use is contracted,
Yeah.
but it took so of the like 15 years I've been doing this, it's probably only the last 3 to 5 years I've had the team that I wanted.
Yeah.
Like the rest of that time was just turning through staff. Like the turnover of staff was just unbelievable.
It's mad.
It's such a waste of time.
There's nothing worse than like pouring a lot of time into someone. We hired someone the other month, and for sales, and first 2 weeks brilliant, and then just like just don't know what happened. Like, it just couldn't explain it. Again, we were just spending so much time, and
Yeah.
that it's just got to the point. It's like this just isn't worth it. It really isn't.
Yeah. It's hard to make those decisions, but
Yeah,
that's the stuff I think that when you're trying to grow your business, that you could do with massive help from having like a mentor to help
yeah,
and guide you in those business things, that because no one's taught you this up until
yeah.
that point. No one's told you that this is the way you need to structure things. And so when someone comes into like the mentorship program, is that what sort of things do you cover with them to help people grow?
To be honest, like with the people that I work with, obviously I work with kind of people around that probably 5, 7.5, 10K plus bracket. So
Yeah.
a lot of my stuff is like literally kind of delegation management. Because again,
Yeah.
right, this is where a lot of people go wrong, is because they hire all of these people. They look at someone doing 50K and they realize they've got a VA, and then they just go on Upwork, hire a VA, don't have any systems, any training, any management,
Sure.
and they don't really know what they're doing. Or they're sat there doing all of these captions, and whereas actually they should be doing X, Y, Z, but they're like, what do I even do? For example, the other day, I actually shared our agency copywriting system and content system that is literally from videographer to editor to copywriter to QC to distributor, all the way along like a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
And they were like blew their mind. But now they've got that implemented. All they do is literally film. And they were
Yeah.
like, wow, we've saved like 15 hours a week
Yeah. It's
just
pretty
by that
incredible
change.
just by having those systems. Like, what are some of the, when people just first start out with you, what are some of the most, like the biggest difficulties people are facing? Like, what could we help people with right now, or you could help people with right now, that are watching this and they're trying to grow their business, but maybe they're stuck?
So this is a common thing that I find. I find that
Mm.
lots of coaches do a fair few things to grow. For example, someone goes to mentor A and gets 7 things to do, and they get to a certain stage, and then they then go to mentor B, and then they get from X to Y again, right? But it gets to a point where they actually forget to keep doing what they've learn. For example,
Yeah.
like you go to like you've got something ticking, you've got your content strategy in line, you've got XYZ in line, you then go to something else, and ultimately the foot comes off the gas of these things,
Mm.
and you do that, which gets you a little bit of growth. But actually, if you continuously just carried on doing exactly what's working, okay, and also refine it, for example, rather than thinking like, oh, this isn't working, I need a brand new strategy, how often do you actually look at it and go, that's why it's not working?
Yeah.
Like, for example, there's so many times, like, for example, oh, I'm not getting enough calls booked, or I'm not getting enough conversations started. I'm like, right, do a Loom video for 10 minutes and send me over every single DM that you've done.
Mm.
And I'll go, that's why, that's why, that's why, that's why, that's why.
Yeah.
Because again, that's a role and a task that coaches don't think they need to do because they're just a coach, right?
Sure.
But as a director and a business owner of your company, you need to be looking at your systems and processes and refining in any way possible. Because sometimes it's not about, oh, that's not working. What's next? What can I do next? It's like, no, why isn't it working? Try and fix it.
How difficult is it to get someone who all they've known is being a coach, right? They've grown their coaching business, but they haven't grown it through business acumen and understanding how to grow a business. They've done it because they're really good at what they do, and then they love coaching. So how hard is it to get that person to now shift gears and like transition into a business person?
I think it depends on the coach. Like, it depends who the person, like, it's very dependent. Some people are really happy, like, to move into that role.
Yeah.
Some people don't even want that. Some people are literally happy with everything all over the place or
Yeah.
whatever. But because they're a good coach, they'll always get a fair chunk of inquiries come through. People are like
Sure.
that. But if people want to, really basically build a business and also build further businesses off of what they're currently doing, then that's when you need to have that talk to yourself and go, what do you really want? Do
Yeah.
you want 5 houses next year? Do you want another company? Do you want more coaches? Once you've found that core of like where you want your business to go, I was having a chat with someone yesterday. He was like, I would actually rather probably scale back my clients by half and run the business with coaches. Brilliant.
Right.
That's what we'll do.
Mm.
Why? What's the byproduct? Well, I want this, I want that, I want this. That's business growth. Whereas, like I said, some people are just. I think some people fall into coaching. And it's
Yeah.
and it's an industry where you can very quickly go from like 0 to 5, 10K. And ultimately, that's ridiculously good for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
So then they're just like, oh, happy days. I get to train for 3 hours a day. I get all my meals supplied by a sponsor. I earn really well. I can work from wherever I want. Life ticked off, you know?
Yeah. For sure. And then, so it's just those coaches that want that next level that need to implement all the systems, have that in place, ready to then bring team members in so they can actually grow and scale what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, there's two ways to think about it. You can either implement systems and processes to like make your life easier. So if there is a coach who's getting 10 inquiries a week organically because they're such a good coach, then actually, right, what can we do to reduce your time, stress, XYZ, right?
Mm.
Do that. But then if there's a coach that's like, right, I'm earning 10K, I want to get to 30, 40K. The only way they are literally going to grow is by removing themselves out of the business. Like I said to this, worked it out yesterday. I had a spreadsheet up. I literally worked out their capacity.
Right.
I was like, if you hit this number, you are that ceiling that everyone hates is literally it's like above your head. You can't
Yeah.
go anywhere unless you start to think outside the box and you start to think, no, actually, I need to remove myself to push forward. And that's what they did. And they were like, it was like a light bulb moment.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's the benefit of having a mentor, right? Someone that
Yeah.
has been there, done it, and can help you do that.
Yeah,
How do
because
you?
I got there myself, and ultimately at the time I didn't actually have many. I didn't really have anyone to guide me. But I think where I'd had other businesses before, I did have that experience myself.
Sure.
But then obviously, yeah, as I grew my coaching, there were tasks and things I needed to do that weren't in the other industries I was working in, so I needed to learn. Yes, but yeah, you do get to a point where you just need to think, what do I want to get out of it, and then you mold the business from there rather than just trying to wing it, basically.
Is that what you've done as well in terms of like the other things you're
Yeah,
involved in and growing as an entrepreneur? So did you like after you got your coaching to level you did, you
yeah.
then started mentoring with Elliot? How did you then decide you were going to go in and do like property or do other businesses?
I that's a really really tough question. Twice, I've always had a goal
Yeah.
that like I literally by the time I'm 25, I just want to like yeah, I could wake up every single morning and like I'm covered for life. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you've got X amount of money coming in that you don't actually have to do anything for.
Sure.
That's what I want by by the time I'm 25. So if I do that, I knew that property was one way to get there.
Yeah.
And also again, I'm thinking long game. I've not only got that, but I'm thinking, what do I want to do when I'm 50?
Yeah. That's a big thing to think about when you're not even 25.
Yeah. And I worked it out. I worked out what I needed to. I'm really, really. Like, I'm not weird, but like I'm. I think me and you are similar. Where like we're really like granular detail with everything,
Yeah.
and I
Has to be.
I mapped out like to the penny what I need to put away every single month, how many houses I need to buy per year, how much I need to hit revenue per month, everything, and I worked out what I need to get within the next year. That if I literally just left it and didn't
Mhm.
look at it for the whole mortgage time, which is 25 years, I'd have 1 million sat in that account,
Yeah.
literally. And I was like, that's my that's my excitement.
So how do you figure out these goals though? Do you start at the end goal and then work backwards and then create all your targets based on like reverse engineering it?
Yeah. I always reverse engineer. So for example, I look at something, for example, like, my goal when I'm 50 is to probably spend a lot of my time in Marbella because I love Marbella. Got a
Yeah.
few of my old clients, big business owners, literally live over my bay all the time. Went out there in
Yeah.
the summer with them, and I was like, "This is the life." I was like, "This is what I want to do." And also they don't have any stress because they've got all of their investments and they're just
Sure.
living to live,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I was like, right, if I want to do that, what have I roughly got to have? Then what have I got to do now to make sure that I can make that happen?
Yeah.
And that's also quite level one, I say, because see, it's 25 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's be honest, I probably won't even like acknowledge that, like, do you know what I mean, in 25 years, but it's going to be there. And it's just that's my little why. I think like that's my little why. Like everything I do, I'm like, that's going to go into that because then that's going to get that.
Yeah. So
And
let's talk about your why. Like, what drives you? Why all of this anyway? Like, what's your purpose in all of it? Like, other than having the financial reward at the end of it, why do you get out of bed and do this every day?
everyone always says this. Like, I think going from body transformations to business transformations is like the biggest satisfaction. You know, it's like the best thing ever, best feeling
Yeah.
ever. But also, mate, I just love it. Like, I just genuinely love
Yeah.
it. Like, people say, like, I actually love it. Like, I would not change anything. Like,
Do
it's
you,
my life now.
do you love the? Do you get fulfillment out of the rewards that come along the way, or do you get fulfillment out of the day to day, the actual doing it?
The day to day, like, you know, like, I think the journey. I remember,
Yeah.
I was in Marbella, was it June? And I had a really random call from Elliot. It was like 3 p.m. I was like, "You're right." He was like, "I've just had a light bulb moment." He was like, I was like, "What?" He was like, "We need to like, what are we doing right now?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "We've just done X, Y, Z." He was like, "This is so fun." Do you know what I mean? He's like, "We need to like really take this in because like this is like the best thing ever." And
Yeah.
probably in 20 years' time when we're not doing all this day-to-day stuff, we're gonna wish like, "Oh, I wish I enjoyed it more." Like all of
Yeah.
this, like the late nights in the office, the early mornings, the stressful call, whatever. It's fun.
Yeah. And there's not. And when you say stressful calls, right? Do you mean stress in the way that I do? Because if Vicky ever says to me like, "How's it going?" I'm like, "Well, I'm a bit stressed," and I say that, and people think of it as a negative thing, but it's like a good stress. It's like I'm like pumped and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm so excited to be doing it. Like, but I can't think of another word other than stress, so I say stress.
Yeah, it's just like prime example. Last night, there was an issue with one of our mentees' landing pages. Don't know what they'd done, so I literally had my girlfriend ring me on the phone. I think it was something like, "Are you going to go to the shop on the way home to?" And I was just like one word answers, finishing this landing page, whacked it live, and
Yeah.
everyone's just looking at me like, "How do you do that?" I'm just like trying to talk about life, sorting out landing page, make it go live, as well as be like, "Yeah, I'll get the burgers on the way home, like hang ups in a bit."
Yeah.
But
Nice.
like, yeah, like so some would say that's stress, like multi things going on, but it's just like it's good stuff.
Yeah, that's the fun. So, what
That
do
is well
you
fun.
do? You ever have time off? Time? Do you ever disconnect? Like chill out?
I had this chat with someone the other day. My
Hmm.
disconnect time is like a lot different to a lot of people. Like my disconnect time is maybe like just having a couple of hours to watch something or read something, or like I don't really have off time. I
Hmm.
just actually make sure that, for example, like maybe a couple of evenings a week, I might go home at 7 instead of 8, and I'll get an hour of a YouTube or something in. Or for example, at the weekends, I must admit, Sundays, I like to like do a bit of work in the morning, and I like to have a bit of a relaxed day on a Sunday. I
Yeah.
do believe in recharging, but I think, yeah, I'm not like I need a day off. I need to do this. I need to do that. I'm very much like I'll have certain things in a day. For example, last week I was up in London, Harley Street, working with some of our doctors, and after I joined and sat in the coffee hub at the Ritz. Don't know how I didn't get kicked out because I was literally like wearing like trackies, hoodies, sort of thing. I just like listened to a podcast, did a bit of wrapping up. I loved it, mate. I was like in my element.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. It's funny, you're one of the very few people that I've spoken to that does, I do that as well. So for
Yeah,
me, it's, I find time within the day to just be kind of in my own little bubble away from
yeah,
things. So whether it's like walking the dogs or I go and do cryo, which is only 4 minutes, but for 4 minutes, I'm just almost like meditating for
yeah,
four
yeah,
minutes.
definitely.
Like it's, and I just have these mini little breaks like throughout the day. If I actually go away somewhere, I find that it normally disrupts me and makes it more stressful.
I found out the other day, like, so I went to Greece for a week in July, and I realised that 3 days is my go to. So, for example, day 4, I was starting to want to work. I was like wanted to work. It wasn't like
Yeah,
I've got to work. I was like I want to work. So I
yeah,
actually find that 3 day recharges are like my absolute sweet spot.
yeah. That's interesting. I think it takes me, when I get somewhere, it takes me probably 2 or 3 days before I've accepted the fact that I'm not going to be working.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like aggy about it for 2 or 3
Yeah.
days. Then I'm fine for a couple of days. And then by the time we get into like the end of 7 days or something, I'm like itching to get home because I just want to do stuff.
Yeah.
And of course I come back and everything's fine. But whilst I'm away, I'm just like,
it literally is always like that as well. It's like, oh, nothing's happened today.
Yeah.
But it's just how we are. I don't think we'll ever be different, really.
No, I wouldn't have it any other way.
No,
So I've got one last question for you. This, by the way, has been amazing. So much useful stuff that people could take away from it. But the question is, if tomorrow you woke up and your Instagram is gone completely, you've got no social whatsoever, what would you do tomorrow to grow back like your business through social?
Okay, so I was gonna say one of my first things, and I'm literally like an adamant about this. Like, I literally make sure, down to the degree, that I've got an email list saved on literally a hard copy of an Excel exported. So I'm one of these ones that's like, I've got to cheat around your question. But that being said, if I had, yes, okay, yeah. So if I literally had, if my Instagram went down, it wouldn't matter to me because I've got loads of other profiles, loads of other presence, lead data everywhere.
Yeah,
that wouldn't matter.
That's like the perfect answer, James.
I didn't know if I was like, like there's a little like side route to...
No, I really want people to take away from this that as much as you think that Instagram is never ever going to go away and that your social will always be there, I know people with very big followings where they've lost everything and then they don't have an email list, they don't have a contact list, and so their 200, 300,000 followers are now nowhere to be seen. And overnight, they now don't get DMs, they don't get inquiries. And so for people that are in that situation, their business just struggles. Whereas if you do what you do, then you've got everything. Like the next day, you can just email everyone, hey, I haven't gone anywhere, like here's how to contact me, etc.
Everyone literally thinks Instagram is like, you have to have an Instagram to sell and have a business. It's like one small, well, it should be one small part of your overall lead flow.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, for example, I think it's about a year ago now, or maybe 8 months, when WhatsApp, Instagram, and was it Facebook went down for like 24 hours or something?
Yeah.
Who was winning? The email marketers, because email never stopped. Like, it literally it's very hard to break email. If you didn't do that, you then got, obviously, in a lead list, you'd have all everyone's mobile numbers. You do an SMS campaign. For example, within 2 minutes of that announcement coming out, I had that Rudy Moore from America, realized that YouTube was still up, and he sent out an SMS and an email saying, guys, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook's down. Watch this video. It's going to give you, so much value. Like, clever. That's playing the game.
Yeah, that guy is on it.
He's a machine. Actually, like, I thought I was a machine. He's like another level machine.
Yeah, I went through and bought all of his stuff just to go through all of the funnels.
Yeah,
just to see all the upsells, downsells, like everything in place.
It's hard. Trying to get off some of his websites is hard sometimes. It's like 9 upsells. You're like trying to click off.
Yeah. It was just like that.
It's like, are you sure you don't want to buy this for $7 now?
It's really good though. I wrote it all down. Like when I went through it, I think I recorded the loom as I did it, wrote it all down, just to see what he was doing, so that I could like pick it apart basically, because he obviously does well. Clever. I like to try and figure out. Well, like you, I like to try and reverse engineer things. So this podcast, although it's for all the coaches, it's a selfish endeavor as well, because I want to understand like how did you do the things you do and how did you get there. And it's super useful just learning from how you, like, your perspective on things and how you do stuff is amazing, mate. I really appreciate you taking the time to do it.
No, mate, I appreciate you, mate. Everything you've done for us, and like I said, I've always believed in you and Kahunas and everything. I said I followed you for years before that anyway, but what we've done for Kahunas, mate. It's like comment earlier. I said anyone that misses the Kahunas boat is going to be left behind forever. It's fact.
I saw it. Thank you so much. Where can people find out more about you, James?
So follow me on Instagram, James Vogle, Vogle, for everyone that spells it wrong, EL. And basically, I'm on every platform there is. So, and also, if you want to whack your email list, email in my list as well, just in case the platforms go down, I can still follow you up.
Awesome. And we'll put all those links in the video description as well for everyone.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, Mark.